Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today, we have a new set of great stories for you to enjoy. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Sit comfortably. Here we go. Coworker Revenge. I worked for a great company that I really liked. I'm a nice person and get along with almost everybody except Murray. I don't know to this day what it was about him, but we just didn't like each other. I was mature about it and would still work with him regardless of any personal feelings. I was up for a promotion and it was really only between me and another guy. This guy was very good friends with Murray. When I didn't get it, another friend told me that Murray had personally went to the hiring manager and badmouthed me and likely cost me the job. The revenge. I played the long game on this one. Murray's a bit of an alcoholic and would brag about knowing how to drive home, avoiding check stops and getting pulled over. We had a big staff party, and of course he gets really drunk. I stayed until he was leaving and called the cops, gave his plate number and where to find him. He got caught, lost his license, and since he lived out of town, almost couldn't get to work. Since he was leaving a work event, his manager got in hot water for letting it happen. His manager knew what he did to me and did nothing, and he got crap from his manager for it too. It almost cost him his job. He got a fine and lost his license, all that for effing with my career. Revenge is sweeter when you play the long game. And our second story. A simple revenge. The setting. I worked in a moving company for a year before being laid off, along with half the crew as I was told, and during that time I would learn just how, I wouldn't say pompous, more like bossy some clients tend to be. Military types fit this requirement most definitely, and understandable some ways, insufferable in others. The story. A client, call him Entitled, wanted his stuff moved from a decent place in San Diego to a spot in the downtown area. Really nice apartment he picked out too. Now the policy the company had was that he pays for 2 hours worth of work when he books a move, to somewhat guarantee some amount of income, and after those 2 hours we charge him the hourly rate. As myself and 2 other guys are busying ourselves with wrapping all the furniture, loading up the cardboard moving boxes, and hauling up all the stuff and into the truck, I overheard Entitled talking to his wife saying something like, "I'll only pay them for 2 hours for the move total. No big deal, sweetie." No big deal, I say to myself, and I take the time afterward to let the guys know it's most likely one of the 2-hour jobs. Nothing we haven't done before, but hey, mild annoyances at best. An hour passes and everything is loaded up in time. I write down the times, started the truck, and off we go. We don't charge them for the transportation of the move, but when we reach the destination and we found parking, Entitled seems to be unnerved. Here's why. The apartment unit is 7 stories high, overlooking much of the downtown area near Petco Park Stadium. However, that's not the case. It was the elevators. And said elevators are currently in use by other tenants. With 45 minutes of the 2-hour job left to go, as I already told the boys to start unloading since we figured already how to work with this, again, I overhear Entitled say something under his breath, something along the lines of, "How come they didn't reserve the elevators, damn it?" Not sure if it was towards me or the apartment tenant, but given that he's had that kind of attitude since we started, I was suspicious that those words were aimed at me and the crew. So what does he do? Usually in this situation, most clients grumble and go along with it, but not Mr. Entitled. He starts shouting at us to hurry the F up while myself and 2 other coworkers are busting our butts to unload the boxes and send them up the elevator. I'm tired, my lungs are burning from the strain of the job, my entire body is sweating pretty damn profusely, plus I got the client pacing back and forth looking like he's about to explode. Finally, Entitled snaps and starts an argument with me about the 2-hour mark passed and how he's not paying for the rest of the move, red-faced and screaming at my face. aholmode.exe engaged. Formulating escape route.exe in progress. Initially, I've tried to calm him down, and just when the other 2 guys reappear from the elevator, I tell them to stop. We look to Entitled and ask him amidst the screaming if you want to continue the move past the 2-hour mark. He said yes. I then asked to clarify that you will not be paying us for the remainder of the move past the 2-hour mark, as it'll render our services complete. And he said yes. I also asked if he's sure, as we will not move anything into the apartment once our services are complete. He gives me this, "Are you kidding me?" face and says, "I paid you effers to move my crap into my apartment." I hit back with, "Sir, you paid for 2 hours of our time." To which the man says, "I'm not going to pay you effers extra." And there it was. Hook, line, and sinker. I radioed Central, let them know my times for the move, and also notified them of the completion of the contract. Once that was done, I gathered up the paperwork, had him fill it out, who then stormed off back up the elevator, most likely satisfied at his skill in negotiations. Once that was done, I told the boys to unload again, this time into the street. But Scribe, why would you throw this man's furniture into the street? That's a pretty mean thing to do. Because now that he's signed the papers releasing us from the contract, his things essentially are now his things, in our truck. There was nowhere else to put them except on the street. When he finally put 2 and 2 together, we had already unloaded the last of his things from the truck in about 15 minutes, which wasn't too bad, and another half hour and we'd be done and over with. But sadly, that wasn't the case. After arranging Entitled's boxes and some furniture neatly and in an organized fashion, strapping the moving equipment down, and taking pictures of the back of the truck to prove we didn't take anything, I got into the truck with my guys and drove off back to Central, where we drank all the water we could find, ate through our lunches and then some, and clocked out. And our next story. Scare my girlfriend and I while we sleep? Enjoy having everything in your house zip-tied? Every year, a few of my friends rent a beach house for a week to relax, have fun, and throw parties. Last year, my girlfriend and I decided to spend the final night there by camping in the backyard in our tent just for the fun of it. As always, my friend Sweetness ends up getting his balls busted for getting too drunk and belligerent. My buddy Sean had a crap ton of zip ties in his car, like more than any normal human being should own. So when Sweetness got rowdy and unreasonably loud, Sean and a few of my friends who rented the house grabbed Sweetness and hog-tied him with the zip ties. I would go into more information about, so I shall refrain. But remember the zip ties. So after a long night of drinking, my girl and I retired to our tent and went to bed. Boom! Bang! Pop! Her and I were abruptly awoken. Our sleeping bag was being hit by Roman candles my a-hole friends had that I forgot about. Silly me for thinking I would get a normal night's sleep. After about 10 straight minutes of being shot at like we're criminals in a hideout, I unzipped the tent to see that the front is singed, burnt, and my a-hole friends are giggling like runaway midgets. I was PO'd, my girlfriend was scared, and they soon went back inside. I was too tired to make a scene, but too mad to go back to sleep. So I stayed up and waited. Time goes by, and I found myself in Sean's car borrowing a bunch of his zip ties. I tiptoed inside the beach house and began zip-tying everything I could. I zip-tied the rolls of paper towels, zip-tied glassware together, the cutlery, the TV remote to the fire detector. I zip-tied the oven and microwave shut. I zip-tied the pots and pans that hung on the wall to the hooks. They were on so you couldn't get them off. I passed by Sweetness, who was sleeping and still hog-tied, and zip-tied his phone to the door handle. Because why not? I wasn't even worried about waking anyone up at this point. But lucky me, they were so trashed, not even a fire would wake them. I combined the zip ties together and tied the toilet lid down. I zip-tied random cords together, people's shoes together. Random things I found in drawers got zip-tied. Cartons of eggs got zip-tied, individual hot dog rolls and hamburger buns. I zip-tied beer cans so you could lift the tab on them. Hell, I even zip-tied the pack of zip ties I used. After it was all said and done, it looked like the SWAT team for inanimate objects came through and arrested everything. That morning, my girlfriend and I left extra early. Later on in the day, I received a bunch of texts from my friends. Some were in good spirits, some were PO'd since everyone had the morning craps and couldn't pry the toilet. They had to drive to the closest hardware store for razors to cut most of the ties off before the landlord got back. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I hid the knives and scissors in the backyard. And our last story. Don't F with a man fighting for his kids. This is currently happening with a coworker of mine, and I think it fits here. Background. My coworker R is going through a messy divorce with about a week to go before the custody hearing starts for their 2 daughters. Both parents want full custody and seem willing to fight for it. A couple weeks ago, R was driving home when two guys with a firearm pull him over and attack him. R has recently had a stroke, so he installed an emergency button which he pressed before he got out of the car. 5 minutes later, two response vehicles arrive and chase the guys that roughed him up. After talking to them for a while, the truth comes out. His ex-wife's lawyer hired these thugs to scare him off. About 2 weeks later, R is sitting at home one evening when his ex-wife and her new fella come knocking on his door. He opens up and they drunkenly start harassing and verbally attacking him. She tells him that she and her new guy work together and has been dating long before the divorce has been finalized. R is understandably upset, but he's a gentle guy, so he just waits it out and eventually they leave. R is an ex-flying squad member and still has a lot of contacts in the police. Revenge. R decided to report them to their company's HR. He needs any dirt on his ex-wife for the custody battle, so he tries to dig a bit. The HR lady tells him that the guy is married with kids and that this is not the first time something like this has happened. R gets the guy's wife's number and calls her calmly, telling her about the affair and emailed her any incriminating stuff he had as proof. The new guy rocks up at R's house that night, drunk and aggressive. R has to point his gun at the new guy to get him to leave. Fearing for his own and his daughter's safety, R files a restraining order against the new guy. Then he takes down the guy's number plates and calls one of his old flying squad buddies to run it through the system. It turns out the new guy is running fake plates, and now there's a warrant out for his arrest. New guy and the ex-wife both got fired because their affair is against company policy. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.